All right. Good evening and good night, and welcome to the It's Your Perspective talk show. Yes, good night and good evening. Welcome to the It's Your Perspective talk show. It is Thursday, August 18th, 2016. My name is David, aka Kimba, aka Christian, alongside
Bingy Soup.
Yeah, Soup, we back?
Yes, I.
Yeah, I just want to say real quick, man, this is the It's Your Perspective talk show every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, weekly 8 p.m. until. We do have a telephone number, 340-2019-005. You can also text us on that number as well. But most importantly, you have to go to our website, streaming live from the VI.com. Go to that website, click on the tab that says Watch Us Live, and you will be able to see the show tonight. We do have a special long-time guest in the studio tonight. If you're too shy to call or text, hit us up on our email address, streaming live from the VI@yahoo.com. We're in a high-tech, low-tech studio, coming to you from an undisclosed location here, St. Croix, Virgin Islands. No radio or TV, internet only. Get your iPhone, iOS, Android, tablet, Mac, Windows, Linux, computer. Open up your browser, type in streaming live from the VI.com. You'll be able to see the show tonight. All our recorded live shows are on Ustream and YouTube.com. Search for our channel, It's Your Perspective Talk Show. We got 2 Facebook pages. Send a super shout out to the CHS class in 1982. Big ups to our whole crowd there. But most importantly, to all our past guests, thanks for being on our show. We're on Twitter as well. Tweet with us at VI Perspective. Super moving straightforward and up. The show's mission is just to inform, entertain, and empower everyone. Quick shout out to our sponsors, Maggie's Party Decor, Supersonic Computer Services, and Added Touch Boutique here. All these businesses are here actually in the Virgin Islands. Check out our website for contact information for these for Maggie's Party Decor, Supersonic Computer Services, and Added Touch Boutique in Sunny Isles Mini Mall Shopping Center. And Soup, you ready?
Yes, I.
Bless that mic, man.
All praises be to the living I. Jah
Rastafari.
Yes, I. I'm reading from today from the selected speech of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I. And ironically, he's addressing the Council of the Foreign Relations in New York. On the one hand, a small group of economically and industrially advanced countries, notably your great nation, have achieved prosperity unparalleled in history of mankind, enabling their respective peoples to maintain a high standard of living. On the other hand, by the far vast majority of the nations of today remain economically underdeveloped. Their peoples subsisting in want and poverty as the normal conditions of life. In an enlightened age such as ours, in which the benefits of scientific and technological advancement are being brought to bear in almost every sphere of human life. This profound gap gives rise to anxiety and concern. It is a situation that engenders misery, bitterness, and hostility. It is a situation that cannot and must not be allowed to continue longer. In an era when nations gathered in concert to declare each nation's fundamental rights to freedom and equality, it is dismaying that the great majority of the world's population exists in the shadow of poverty and misery, often lacking the basic essentials of food and clothing, while their fellow men in other parts of the globe enjoy a life of abundance, comfort, and tranquility. No greater victory can be won by the nations of today than the conquest of the apocalyptic enemies that still ride mankind: poverty, disease, and ignorance. All praises be to the Almighty. Yes, I.
All right, Soup, thanks for that, man. As we roll out here, we do have a special guest in the studio, author Gary James. There he is right there. Gary has been with us from the very, very beginning, April of 2014. Comes in here every couple of weeks to share some knowledge and wisdom with us. Brother Gary, how are you this fine, hot Thursday here in the Virgin Islands?
I'm pretty cool now that you got the situation straight.
Yes,
But it really was really hot for the last couple of days. But I'm cool hanging out with you young brothers.
Yes, sir. It's always a pleasure to have your eminence in our presence.
For sure,
Thank you,
man.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, good evening, and welcome to Conversations with Gary James, coming to you, streaming live and direct from an undisclosed location here on the big island of St. Croix.
Yeah.
We're continuing our conversation relative to the topic of status and self-determination in the Virgin Islands. We began this conversation during the previous 2 shows, which focused on the international law that was in place during the establishment of the Danish West Indies, now known as the Virgin Islands of the United States. We explored the laws of nations, the Knights of Malta, among other organizations and institutions that have and continue to play a consequential role in the destiny of the New World. We've identified respective stakeholders and role players that operate essentially invisible scenarios in the background and shadows. These entities advance various historical perspectives which continue to formulate the popular and conventional narrative. So apart from my interest in these topics and subjects intellectually, I have an organic connection to the advent and developments in the New World. I've referenced my organic connection previously in the VI by way of my deep roots. And during the period of enslavement in the Danish West Indies, that dispensation. But in addition to my ancestry on the Big Island, in the framework of my paternal side, my maternal grandmother, or my maternal grandfather, escaped to New York City during the late 1800s. My maternal grandfather escaped from Brazil and came as a stowaway on a ship bound for New York City. He married a Native American, and they had 11 children, and my mother was the 6th child. So I have many cousins here in the VI and in Brazil. In fact, during the Olympics, some of my cousins went down to enjoy the Olympics because they have some property down there. I haven't gone yet. I've been admonished about that because I'm the oldest living male on both sides. I look kind of young, but I'm out there. So I'm deeply invested in what went on and what is unfolding. By way of full disclosure, our conversation tonight will explore Skull and Bones, the Skull and Bones Order, the Caliphate, and the Levant. Hopefully, we'll shed some light on these topics and dynamic events unfolding in the world and in the Virgin Islands in particular. We begin with Skull and Bones. The author, Anthony Sutton, dubbed Skull and Bones, quote, America's secret establishment. The organization is also known as the Brotherhood of Death, the Order, and Just Plain Bones. Skull and Bones have been active at Yale University for more than 150 years. The group is also called Chapter 322. Some claim that it's an offshoot of a secret German university society. This group allegedly had a fascist and communist bent with a Hegelian philosophy of service to the state. Many conspiracy theorists also believe that this is the infamous Thule Society, some members of which formed the Nazi Party. Reportedly, the American branch of this group was founded in 1832 at Yale University by class valedictorian William Russell and his schoolmate Alphonso Taft. William Russell was the cousin of Samuel Russell, who made his fortune by smuggling opium to China. He supposedly struck up a great friendship with the leader of a clandestine German university society while studying in Germany. He eventually became so enthralled that he got permission to form a branch in America. William Russell later went on to become a state legislator in Connecticut and a military general. His partner, Alphonso Tate, was later appointed as United States Attorney General, Secretary of War, and ambassador to both Australia, Hungary, and Russia. Alphonso was also the father of William Howard Tate, who ultimately became the only man to be both Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and President of the United States. The identity of those who have been in Skull and Bones, pardon me, is assumed to be a secret. But the group actually published membership lists held at Yale University until 1970. Only after that time was the membership kept secret. However, several leaks have occurred over the years, one of which was the result of a break-in, with another coming from a disgruntled member who gave a list of fellow bonesmen to Anthony Sutton in the mid-1980s. The membership reads like a who's who of East Coast society, with members from old, wealthy, and powerful families that are steeped in politics, banking, commerce, industry, and the like. 3 presidents of the United States, Howard H. Taft, George H.W. Bush, and George W. Bush, were members. The younger Bush, reportedly appointed 11 of his frat brothers to his administration during the first term. The Skull and Bones initiation works by way of certain juniors being literally tapped on the shoulder or body near the end of the school year to join the seniors only society. This resulting in 15 new members being chosen. Potential candidates can refuse membership, but it's considered a great honor to be tapped. Only males were eligible for this honor until 1992 through a secret referendum of existing members, which was reportedly a heated controversy the group began and currently admits women. To be considered a candidate, it helps if you're from a Bones family, have access to wealth and power, are energetic, active, and politically resourceful. As a seniors-only type of association, one can basically assume that the goals of Skull and Bones probably have more to do with an agenda in the outside world than they do with Yale or the Brotherhood. To that end, conspiracy theorists often have a field day with this group, tying it to numerous other covert organizations, such as the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, and the Bilderberg Group, as well as the Illuminati. We'll allude to Illuminati this evening. Skull and Bones owns 2 pieces of property. They're building on the Yale campus called the Tomb, which is actually quite large, and Deer Island, a private haven on the St. Lawrence River. Naturally, both locations are for the exclusive use of the order. The Tomb has no exterior windows, and its walls are made of concrete, even though it reportedly has many rooms, including several bedrooms. According to some who have been inside, there's a room devoted to William H. Taft and his presidency that's almost like a shrine, and an eyewitness account of the inside of the tomb by one of the group of Yale's females who were invited for a tour by a dissident member, claimed that there's another room that apparently is devoted to Nazi regime in Germany, the Nazi regime in Germany, including quite a bit of memorabilia. Initiates in the order reportedly have to lie in a coffin naked and tell their sexual history to other candidates. Whether this is a harmless induction or for blackmail purposes, no one really knows. Initiates are also given names that they carry with them for the rest of their lives. For example, the younger President Bush name is temporary, quote unquote. Take that as you will. In addition to presidents, there have been at least 28 U.S. senators or congressmen who belong to the order. They include James Buckley, Prescott Bush, John Chafee, Thomas Ashley, Jonathan Bingham, David Boren, Thurston Morton, Robert Taft, and John Kerry, current Secretary of State. Several other Bonesmen served as cabinet members in various administrations. People such as William A. Harriman, and most of us know about George H.W. Bush's involvement in the CIA. Some of the old-line American families that have ties to the order through the membership of one or more descendants include names like Wadsworth, Payne, Whitney, Perkins, Stimson, Taft, Gilman, Davidson, Pillsbury, Sloan, Harriman, Rockefeller, Lord, Brown, Bundy, Phelps, just to name a few. These are names that many are familiar with on brands all over the world, heading huge corporations in banking and industry and being leaders in the political arena. Membership in the organization can mean rubbing elbows with the planet's elite. Being a clandestine organization, Skull and Bones members take oaths that they won't reveal anything about the society or their affiliation with it. For example, both George W. Bush and John Kerry refused to say a word about the order in recent interviews, and very few people listed on their biographical data. Since the group only accepts about 15 members a year, there are perhaps just 500 to 600 members alive at any given time. And most experts say that about a third of these individuals are active working in working groups for the order. It's also postulated by some that these active members are deeply involved in politics and big business. And there are allegations that the organization engages in nefarious activities domestically and internationally as well. Whether you believe that Skull and Bones is a powerful secret society or just a typical college fraternal organization, there is no denying the fact that its members are extremely influential people and they have impacted affairs all over the world. I want to make a few brief comments about the Illuminati and the Knights Templar. Because as during the last program, I mentioned that we would talk about these two groups in a little bit more depth. But after reviewing the material and discussing it with some members in my study group, I just want to make a few brief comments about the Illuminati and the Knights Templar, for reasons I will explain. Both these organizations differ in an important way from the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberg Group, the Trilateral Commission, and Skull and Bones. Therefore, we will keep the Templars and Illuminati separated because of their religious applications vis-a-vis Christianity and Islam. Although there are similarities in terms of objectives, the Illuminati and the Knights Templar has a foundation that associates with Islam. And there's much popular confusion about Islam. Therefore, a more robust understanding is recommended on the subject of Islam and Christianity, in fact, before we explore these two organizations. So in the interest of exploring a more robust understanding of Islam in particular, which is perhaps one of the most controversial and consequential topics engaging America and the world. Therefore, our conversation will examine Islam in terms of the Caliphate and the Levant. The Caliphate is a popular term, and we'll offer a general historical overview of the term relative to the procession, the historical procession of Islam. The Levant is a term that is associated with Islam and is connected to the acronym ISIL, I-S-I-L, also known as ISIS or ISIS, Daesh, and other names. The various terrorists themselves use the acronym ISIL, while everyone else refer to them as everything else. We will examine these terms, but let us first talk briefly about the Illuminati and the Knights Templar and their unique connection with Islam. The Knights Templar was established in 1099 by the papacy for the purpose of recapturing the Holy Land and Jerusalem from Islamic rule. The Moors captured the Holy Land during the 8th century, and the Christian Crusades began in the 11th century. The Christian Crusades ultimately failed to recapture the Holy Land after a couple of centuries. Subsequently, the Templars were officially disbanded by the papacy in 1304. However, members of the order merged with other organizations, and the Knights Templar were reconstituted following the Protestant Reformation in the 17th century. The Illuminati was reportedly started by Bayezid Ansari. Ansari claimed that his ancestors aided Muhammad after he fled Mecca. Based on his story, Ansari was granted admission into the mysteries of the Ishmaelite religion. Initiates received training that is said to date from Abraham's, the patriarch Abraham's, rebuilding of the temple in Mecca. We'll discuss Abraham and the Ishmaelite religion a little further down the line here. It's premature to discuss the two organizations because of the general lack of historical information regarding the Abrahamic religion of Islam. Therefore, we'll talk about the Caliphate and the Levant in order to establish a general historical context. The Caliphate, or the demise of the last Caliphate, occurred in 1924 as the Ottoman Empire was defeated in World War I. And the politically and militarily weakened Turkish Caliph voluntarily gave up his position. Now, it was the efforts of the famous Lawrence of Arabia, the British intelligence officer who engineered the Arab victory over the Ottoman Turks. The Arabs were promised independence by the British following the defeat of the Turks. We're going to walk through that. A brief overview of the Caliphate historical procession begins with Prophet Muhammad and was essentially an Arabian proposition at its first advent. The Arabian proposition deteriorated following the death of the Prophet Muhammad and the subsequent Sunni and Shia schism. That was the demise of the Arabian Caliphate. The Caliphate then moved to North Africa under the military prowess of the Moors, who captured Jerusalem, the Holy Land, and Spain during the 8th century. The Moors ruled Spain for 700 years until 1492, when Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand, with the help of the Vatican, recaptured Spain. And we're going to take this further in follow-up conversations because we are all familiar in the New World with the date 1492 and the exploits of Columbus. But there is another side to 1492, which we'll discuss at that time when we discuss 1492 in general, from the West and from the East. From the Moors, the Caliphate moved to the Ottoman Empire, Ottoman Turkish Empire, who had sacked the Eastern Roman, the Holy Roman Empire at Constantinople during the 15th century. The Ottoman Turkish Caliphate remained in place controlling the Middle East until the end of World War I. Weakened by losses in World War I, the Ottoman Turkish Caliphate ultimately resigned that position in 1924. Now, the recent proclamation by al-Baghdadi asserting that he is the new caliph is a reference to Arabs as custodians of the new caliphate. First it was an Arabian proposition, then it went to the North Africa, the Moors, and then the Ottoman Turks, and now vis-a-vis al-Baghdadi and ISIL and them, they have reclaimed the custodianship of the new caliphate. Now, the Levant. From the 15th century until the end of World War I, the Ottoman Empire ruled the greater Middle East, also known as the Levant, an Islamic term. After World War I and the exploits of the famous Lawrence of Arabia, the greater Middle East was divided by the British and French into nation states. No more Levant, nation states. Under the control of the West. The Levant became nation states with borders that comprised countries such as Saudi Arabia, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Jordan, Palestine, etc. Effectively establishing regional alliances in order to control oil resources and maritime shipping, etc. Therefore, Europe's victory in World War I and the subsequent defeat of the Ottoman Turks, who were the regional hegemonic power at that time, turned the Levant into various nation states beholden to Western powers. This is what we're dealing with now. The House of Saud, vis-a-vis Saudi Arabia, was tapped as the regional hegemonic power on behalf of the Western powers. And the various nation states had autocratic strongman rulers, virtually all of which are Sunni Muslim. So the West has a unique relationship with Islam in the context of Sunni Islam, Sunni Muslims, and the strongman rulers who they appointed as leaders of the new nation states, formerly known as the Levant. Currently, there are about 22 Middle Eastern nation states allied with the United States and the West. The extremist Sunni Muslim terrorists are responding to the leaders of the respective nation states who have suffered decades of disenfranchisement and oppression visited upon them by their leaders. And their strong-armed leaders continue to be enabled and supported by Western powers. The obvious objective of the Sunni, of the extremist Sunni Muslim terrorists is to topple the oppressive Arab governments directly. And they also want to destabilize, debilitate, and disable the Western powers economically. They want to make it too costly for the West to continue enabling their Middle Eastern allies. The extremist Sunni Muslim terrorists want to destroy the nation states imposed on them by the West and their rulers. Their intent is to return the greater Middle East to the Levant. Hence, ISIL, Islamic State in the Levant. That's what's going on. At the end of the day, it's a foregone conclusion that borders that constitute Iraq, Syria, Libya, and other countries in the Middle East will not remain as we currently know them. So, notwithstanding media and political reports, there is some serious stuff underway that the general public is apparently not sufficiently aware of. And the popular narrative doesn't explore or even discuss issues beyond the popular hype or hyperbolic propositions. But as a practical matter, there needs to be more public information relative to the connection between Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, because it's not a religious war going on as much of the hype suggests. And we'll get into that briefly. Because of this lack of connective information and background, the public is being told all kinds of information, history, ideas, and concepts that are uninformed, misguided, and dangerous. I'm not talking about secret information. I'm talking about accessible public information and general history of the religions of Abraham that all Jews, Christians, and Muslims should be aware of and appreciate. But I'm not hearing what the respective religious leaders should know based on their respective discipline and study. But I'm not hearing, during the recent discussion with my study group talking about the lack of connective information in the public sphere, the point was made that throughout history, there was always a rulership dynamic between the temple and the king, which ebbed and flowed during early times. But now for the last 500 years, secular government and the business elite became the hegemonic force in the Western world. The salient point that was made was that the power of the secular government slash business elite may be calling the national and international power plays. The traditional forces of the church and former Christian monarchs that manage the world seem no match for the emerging New World Order. Hence, secular governments vis-a-vis political and business elites are controlling, if not designing, the conventional narrative. The popular narrative and conventional wisdom eclipses the prospects for a comprehensive exposition of the Christianity and Islam conundrum. It's a riddle, it's a circle. And the secular powers that be are emphasizing things like they don't like us for our freedom and so forth. We all know the current narrative. But I want to offer some connective information relative to this conundrum, this riddle, with a functional perspective on the religions of Abraham: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. I just want to briefly outline the procession, the historical procession of these three monotheistic religions. I recommend that you research for more information concerning the brief points that I make. But this is not what Gary James made up or says. This is history. It's verifiable. It can be fact checked. So, the patriarch Abraham had two sons. The firstborn was Ishmael, born to Hagar, the handmaid of Abraham's wife, Sarah. Subsequently, Sarah gave birth to Abraham's second son, who was named Isaac. Christianity, first century, is the heir to Isaac's line. And Ishmael is, or Islam, which is the 7th century, is heir to the line of Ishmael. Therefore, both religions assert Abraham as their patriarch, which is reflected in their holy books. Now, world history records that Christianity was appropriated by Constantine, the emperor of Rome, in the 4th century, 325 AD specifically, at the Council of Nicaea. Subsequent to consolidating Christianity 325 years after the fact, subsequent to consolidating Christianity under Roman Catholic dominance, Constantine brought Roman Catholicism to the countries of Europe, establishing respective Christian monarchs that ruled various countries as Christian sovereigns. By the 7th century, the Holy Roman Empire ruled the known world by occupation. The Western Empire was headquartered in Rome, while in the eastern realm of the empire was headquartered at Constantinople. Hence, the empire's military footprint covered the known world. Prophet Muhammad was born in Arabia within the military footprint of the Roman Empire. In about 610 AD, Muhammad began his ministry, which was based on a revelation he received over a period of 20 years. Muhammad couldn't read and couldn't write. Therefore, Muhammad spoke his revelation to his associates, who wrote it down in a book called the Quran. Now, Muhammad reportedly received his revelation from an angel by the name of Gabriel. Gabriel, the archangel, is well known to Judaism and Christianity. The religions of Abraham, three monotheistic religions.
The same thing, different names,
Okay.
man.
Now, despite the military occupation of the Roman Empire, the fledgling religion managed to survive, grow, and prosper. Pardon me. The new faith developed its own military capacity, and somehow Islam was able to push back. Arabs were able to expand, conquer, and hold real estate, and their faith they managed to conquer and control Egypt, formerly held by the Roman Empire. Subsequently, the Moors, the North African Moors, became the hegemonic military force in Islam, establishing a caliphate of the faith. The Moors, as we mentioned, made impressive military advances throughout the Middle East, and they eventually captured the Middle East, Jerusalem, and Spain. The Moors ruled Spain from the 8th century to the 15th century, 1492, where it was recaptured by the Christian monarchs and the papacy. And so Spain, with the help of the papacy, recaptured the country from the Moors in 1492. We're going to talk more about that in follow-up shows. After the defeat of the Moors in Spain, the Caliphate of Islam was established by the Ottoman Turkish Empire, following their sacking of the Eastern Roman Catholic realm in Constantinople in the early 15th century. The Ottoman Empire retained the Caliphate, which became seriously weakened following the British and French and American victory in World War I. And as pointed out. In 1924, the British Lawrence of Arabia and the French military forces, also known as the French Foreign Legion, negotiated a resignation of the Ottoman Turkish Khalif, officially ending the caliphate. Currently, al-Baghdadi, the extremist Sunni Muslim, has proclaimed a new caliphate. The fundamental objective of the new caliphate is to depose the Arab leadership of the nation states established by the European powers and the United States. The caliphate's obvious plan is to reconstitute the Middle East as the Levant, hence ISIL. On the other hand, the fundamental objective of the Western powers is to maintain the imposed borders that constitute and the established nation states, their economic, geopolitical, and strategic advantage. My suspicion is that ISIL, as well as the Western powers, will take their objectives to the wall, and the world as we know it will be changed going forward. And so that's a general exposition of where we are today. And the world is absolutely confused and on edge because of what's going on. And the popular narrative doesn't get to the real deal. And we're being informed of this religious war when the religions come from the same guy and the holy books speak essentially of a similar revelation. Let me ask you something. Yes, my brother.
I don't know. I don't know if you know, but I'm just going to ask you this and just see if you within the Mason order, within Masonry, you know, there's a 33rd degree, the highest state that they reach.
Mm-hmm.
When they switch to that order now, they leave from the Bible and swear on the Quran, do they?
No, let me just give you some general information.
Okay.
About that point. First, if my recollection, one of my proteges is a Mason.
Okay.
One is a Knights Templar as well. but as I've been informed, the 33rd degree
right
relates to the Shriners.
Right, exactly. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And not the Masons per se.
Right.
Okay. Now, with respect to the holy books,
Mm-hmm.
from what I understand, the Masonic order is not a religious order.
Right.
And it engages initiates who are of various religions.
Faiths, right.
Therefore, there is a Bible, Quran, etc.,
Right.
which is used to comfort, as you will,
Right.
the respective religions of
The individuals.
their initiates.
Okay.
So that's how I understand it. Now, obviously, I've been talking about different orders
Right.
and
Yes.
so
Yes.
forth.
Yes.
And there's some other orders we could talk about, but we'll do it in context. But the Masonic order, I'm not a Mason.
Right.
I have encumbrances, so I can't get I can't be initiated in these things, those things. But from what I understand, the Masonic order, and many of these orders have changed from their
Right.
initial setup.
Right.
And so I know that the Masonic order, for example, initially emerged as an operative art, that which you do, you operate this knowledge, you know. And it also relates to stonemasons.
Right. Yes. The builders.
Yeah.
The concrete.
yeah.
The concrete builders. Yes.
So it was an operative art.
Right.
As it is currently constituted, it is what's called a speculative art. And so operation and speculation are two different things.
When you're watching and when you're doing.
Yeah. So now, but generally speaking, the order, as I understand it, is a fraternal order and more of a social order and a patronage order for those who are in the brotherhood. And so they look out for each other in terms of
Right.
basic things, you know, in terms of vocation, business, membership in other things and so forth. But as compared, if I were to compare it with the orders that I have talked about, it is not within that realm of the one world government
Right.
kind of scenario, you know. But I, you know, I mean, I study these things for many years,
Right.
you know. But what I always found particularly intriguing about the Masonic order, for example, is the reference to Solomon
Right.
and the temple
Temple.
and the initiation and so forth. So I'm familiar with that stuff,
Right.
you know, but it is more allegorical
Right.
than you know, anything in particular that would play a part of the world, the New World Order scenario.
Okay.
Although also it is alleged that there is other orders, like for example the Templars, the Knight Templars, for example. It is rumored that when the Templars were disbanded by the Pope, they migrated to different groups,
Right.
and some went into the Masonic order, you know.
Okay.
So I'll leave it there. So that's
Okay.
that's
The reason why I asked you that question, because basically when you started breaking it down with Abraham, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, is to me when it comes back to, and I was saying this all along, I say if Abraham is the patriarch for these three religions, basically it ain't no different. It's just names have been changed.
Well, there is no fundamental difference. There are three monotheistic
Yes,
religions. They all speak of end time eschatology.
G.
Yes, you know, like
Revelations, exactly.
You know,
apostasy or whatever.
yeah, all of
apocalypse,
that.
whatever you want to call it. Yes.
The appearance of the 12th Imam. You know, the Gog and the Magog. All of this end time stuff.
Right.
You see? And that's part of Judaism as well.
Well,
'cause you got
exactly.
Daniel, and you got Ezekiel,
Isaiah,
you
Jeremiah.
got Isaiah, all, you know, and so there's a similitude there.
Very much so.
But you see, secular government, you got to be careful about how the secular and business elite
comes into play with
deal
it.
with stuff, because they're about controlling world commerce and business, you see. And so often things may be contrived, you see, to keep people kind of destabilized and confused. And that's where we are.
Right now.
That's where we are. You see, and some of the folk that are part of my study group are concerned about that. And so you have various, well, the things that I'm doing are around providing some kind of coherent explanation of the procession of history, you see? And so there are a number of things that will be discussed, that need to be discussed, and that people need to begin to research for themselves, because the joint is going in the wrong direction,
and it's happening right
and
in
we
front.
have control.
Exactly.
See,
and
people have control,
and it's right in front of our very faces.
That's right. You see.
So
and that's what it is. But so many things. Yeah, I mean, there are many moving parts to what's, you know, to what's going on. And like, for example, we talked about tonight. We talked about the Council of Nicaea, and the Roman Catholic consolidation and domination of the faith 325 years after the fact. Now everybody knows that the history of the Roman Empire is colorful and brutal in terms of Christians. What they did
in the name of Christ, in the name
for 300 years.
Yes.
And the Christians that they crucified and did all sorts of things to, they were non-white. See, it was Constantine who brought Christianity to Europe.
Exactly.
Before that,
it was all.
It was in the Middle East, Africa and Asia.
Yes,
You see?
Yep.
And so it was the way in which Constantine consolidated the Roman Catholic Church. And expelled. Well, my group was expelled during this same Council of Nicaea. The Ethiopian bishops were excommunicated, and excommunicated from all further ecumenical councils. So, I mean, there was some real issues at hand, particularly the Ethiopian concept of the nature of Christ versus the European idea of the nature of Christ. And, you know, the Romans had the power, so, you know, but as a practical, I'm going to say, because this is an important piece which people don't have an opportunity to appreciate, because these discussions don't occur. You see? Yeah, you see?
Yes.
But for example, Christianity, from how I understand it, from how I was taught and know it, and practice it
Yes.
is a spiritual proposition. It's a spiritual proposition.
Right.
And and a spiritual civilization, in fact. And the Western version, or the Catholic version, is a material proposition. And so that's why you have all of this opulence, you see, within the church. And the papacy itself has a very colorful and brutal history among the various Christian monarchs, you see?
Right.
So there is this spiritual component that is missing from popular Christianity, which is why pews are becoming more and more empty.
Yes, I.
And people are moving away from organized religion to spirituality.
Yes.
And so that is consistent with what the faith was in the earliest times and continues to be, except for those who put it or cast it in another a material framework. But we have end times eschatology, and this way things are going on in the world today. Many people believe that it's in the process of unfolding.
Well, to me right now, I think it's just the as you said, the secular part of it is coming out. Is going to be eliminated and come back to the original core to what it is.
That's what's going to happen.
And that's why these elites are holding on and clawing on to hold on to. So I'm glad we're having this conversation, because it's about time we really bring it on the forefront and let the world know what time of day is it. And the conversation gonna continue.
Well, I'm glad of that, and
yeah.
I'm down with that.
Definitely, definitely.
But, people could do what they want. I know one thing: you cannot forestall that which is
inevitable. That's right. That's right. So
you can get all the bread you want and control
this and control that. Yep. But at
the end of the day, there's some other stuff afoot.
Yeah. So.
And we have been so removed from ourselves internally and externally that we're missing some stuff and prefer to buy things and do things and have stuff. But there's some other things going on, and you can't. That's what life is.
Yes. Yes.
You could go to Mars if you want. You see, but it's the same place. So that's where we are. So.
All right, brother Gary James.
Yeah, look like time.
Yeah, but
on us
time is running. But this is something that it had to been dealt with, and I'm glad that you started off and went that route and that direction to it, because again, the world needs to know. And as I said, we are here doing it, and we are sending out information. And as I said, people need to start researching it and looking up for themselves.
Yeah. Well, I could assure you that we have more stuff.
Oh, of course. We just only scraping the surface. We're only scraping the surface, man. It's just the beginning. It's just the start. But it's a whole long world. The Vatican got 8 miles of archive on us. 8 miles of archives they got on us. Okay, in the Vatican. So people wake up and know what time of day is it, man. The time is real. It's right now. It's no other time than now. The time is now. So, and I know, Gary, again, it's always a pleasure and an honor to have you in our presence and continue doing what you're doing. The Most High guide and protect, and one perfect love.
Well, like I say, brothers, I just love what you're doing, and there is absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Yes, I.
Yes, Brother Gary James. Gary will be back on September 1st and September 15th, every other week, correct?
That's right.
Okay,
That's right.
that's the
every first and third Thursday.
Right.
September 1st and September 15th. Gary will be back in the studio again, just continuing to share knowledge and wisdom with us. Just want to say real quick, Soup, that this is the HR Perspective Talk Show every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Today is Thursday, August 18th. We're off. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you guys next week, Tuesday. Soup, we're out.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace. Good, my brother.
The word is out. The boy them sell out. Them better think clear. Pressure bust pipe and sincere. Boy, not trust them. Not trust them. Me not trust men. Me not trust friend. Them not care for nobody else. I just them.
Yeah.
Bad mind what them off it. I go crush them.
Fake smiles from the fake guys. Watch out for them snake eyes. Close friends be the fake type. Show love, but they really hate type. Real friends that might save your life, and then fake friends that might take your life and then kiss your kids and then hug your wife and then tell her that it's all love for life. But no, can't believe in them smiles now. Stare them hard in their eyes now. Read between them lines now. They moving like Bishop, you move like Q. They think they got the juice until you throw them off the roof. Don't trust them.
Not trust them. Not trust them. Not trust men. Not trust friends. Them not care for nobody else. I just them. Bad mind when them off it. I go crush them. Not trust them. Not trust them. Not trust men. Not trust friends. Them not care for nobody else. I just them. Bad mind when them off it. I go crush
They
them.
mad when you do good, they wishing they did better. You fuck with them for love, they fuck with you for cheddar. You think the love they show is real, it ain't always what it seems. Don't believe in what they speak, always trust in what you see. Loyalty is